Aluminum wiring in older homes presents unique challenges that can lead to electrical problems. 3 systems are generally recommended: Copalum, push-in connectors, and terminal strips. The Copalum system involves replacing the existing aluminum wiring with a copper wire pigtail. This pigtail is crimped to the existing aluminum wire using a specialized tool. Then, the copper pigtail is connected to new copper wiring within a standard electrical box. This system is considered a reliable and long-lasting solution. However, it's important to note that Copalum requires the use of a specialized tool and trained personnel for its installation. This can make it a more expensive option compared to other methods. Push-in connectors provide an alternative way to connect new copper wiring to existing aluminum wiring, eliminating the need for crimping. The aluminum wire is inserted into one part of the connector, while the copper wire is pushed into a separate slot. Terminal strips offer another solution for connecting multiple wires together. These strips are available in both aluminum and copper versions. When using terminal strips with aluminum wiring, it's recommended to use copper terminal strips. The aluminum wires are then connected to these strips using a special crimp connector designed for aluminum to copper connections. It's important to understand certain considerations related to older aluminum wiring. Firstly, oxidation is a significant concern. Over time, aluminum wiring can oxidize, forming a non-conductive layer on the surface of the wire. This oxidation can lead to poor electrical connections and increased resistance. Secondly, loose connections are common in aluminum wiring systems. Aluminum expands and contracts more than copper with temperature changes. This difference in thermal expansion can cause connections to loosen over time, creating potential hazards. Thirdly, loose connections in aluminum wiring can lead to arc faults. Arcing occurs when electricity jumps across a gap in a circuit, generating heat and potentially igniting nearby materials. Arc faults are a leading cause of electrical fires in homes with aluminum wiring. Given these considerations, several actions are recommended to ensure safety. Firstly, regular inspections are crucial. A qualified electrician should inspect the aluminum wiring regularly for any signs of oxidation or loose connections. These inspections can help identify potential problems before they escalate. Secondly, replacement of the aluminum wiring should be considered if significant oxidation or loose connections are found. Replacing the aluminum wiring with copper wiring eliminates the risks associated with aluminum. Thirdly, the installation of arc fault circuit interrupters AFCIs is highly recommended. AFCIs are designed to detect arc faults and quickly shut off the power to the affected circuit, preventing electrical fires. When replacing aluminum wiring or making connections, it's crucial to always use the recommended systems or connectors. Ensure that all connections are properly made and that the correct tools and techniques are used. When working with aluminum wiring, it is important to remember some critical facts. Aluminum is a softer metal than copper. Because of this, it is more susceptible to damage during installation and use. Aluminum also has a higher coefficient of thermal expansion than copper. This means that aluminum expands and contracts more than copper with changes in temperature. This can lead to loose connections over time. Aluminum oxidizes when exposed to air. This oxidation can create a layer of insulation that can increase resistance and reduce the flow of electricity. Due to these facts, special care must be taken when working with aluminum wiring. Firstly, use only connectors and devices that are specifically designed for use with aluminum wiring. These connectors and devices are typically marked with the letters AFCIs, which means that they are suitable for use with both aluminum and copper wiring. Secondly, when making connections, be sure to tighten the screws or terminals to the proper torque. Over-tightening can damage the wire, while under-tightening can lead to loose connections. Thirdly, use an antioxidant compound on the aluminum wire before making connections. This compound will help to prevent oxidation and ensure good electrical connection. If you are not comfortable working with aluminum wiring, it is best to hire a qualified electrician. An electrician will have the knowledge and experience to safely and properly install or repair aluminum wiring. Understanding the potential hazards associated with aluminum wiring is critical for maintaining electrical safety. By following these recommendations and taking appropriate precautions, it is possible to mitigate the risks and ensure the safe operation of electrical systems in homes with aluminum wiring. Aluminum wiring was commonly installed in homes during the 1960s and 1970s due to the rising cost of copper. However, problems soon began to surface. Aluminum is more prone to oxidation than copper. The oxide layer that forms on aluminum is non-conductive, which can lead to increased resistance at connections. This increased resistance generates heat, which can further oxidize the aluminum and loosen the connection, creating a dangerous cycle. The greater coefficient of thermal expansion of aluminum compared to copper also contributes to connection problems. As the wiring heats up and cools down, the aluminum expands and contracts more than the connecting screws or terminals, leading to loosening over time. Loose connections are a fire hazard. They can cause arcing, which is a spark that jumps across a gap in the circuit. Arcing generates intense heat and can ignite nearby flammable materials. Homes with aluminum wiring are significantly more likely to experience electrical fires than homes with copper wiring. Several methods have been developed to address the problems with aluminum wiring. The Copalum crimp connector is considered the most reliable permanent repair. This method involves attaching a short length of copper wire, called a pigtail, to the existing aluminum wire using a specialized high-pressure crimping tool. The crimp creates a cold weld that is resistant to corrosion and loosening. However, the Copalum system requires specialized training and equipment, making it a relatively expensive option. Another method involves using twist-on connectors, also known as wire nuts, that are specifically designed for aluminum to copper connections. These connectors are filled with an antioxidant compound that inhibits corrosion. However, twist-on connectors are not considered a permanent repair and require periodic inspection and replacement. A third method involves replacing the aluminum wiring with copper wiring. This is the most expensive option, but it eliminates the risks associated with aluminum wiring. When evaluating the best course of action for addressing aluminum wiring in an older house, several factors should be considered. The age and condition of the wiring, the extent of the problem, the budget, and the desired level of safety should all be taken into account. In some cases, a combination of methods may be appropriate. For example, the Copalum system could be used for critical connections, while twist-on connectors could be used for less critical connections. Regardless of the method chosen, it is essential to have the work performed by a qualified electrician who is experienced in working with aluminum wiring. An electrician will be able to properly assess the situation, recommend the most appropriate solution, and perform the work safely and effectively. Regular inspections are crucial for identifying and addressing potential problems with aluminum wiring. Homeowners should visually inspect their wiring for signs of corrosion, discoloration, or loose connections. They should also listen for any buzzing or crackling sounds coming from outlets or switches. If any problems are suspected, a qualified electrician should be called immediately. In addition to regular inspections, it is also recommended to install arc fault circuit interrupters AFCIs in homes with aluminum wiring. AFCIs are designed to detect arc faults and shut off the power to the circuit before a fire can start. AFCIs provide an extra layer of protection against electrical fires. Aluminum wiring can be a safety hazard if not properly addressed. By understanding the risks and taking appropriate precautions, homeowners can minimize the risk of electrical fires and ensure the safety of their homes and families. Always consult with a qualified electrician before making any changes to your electrical system. It is important to select the most appropriate solution for aluminum wiring while keeping in mind the budget and safety. Aluminum wire connections can corrode over time. Corrosion increases the resistance of the connection. Increased resistance generates heat. Heat causes the aluminum wire to expand and contract. Expansion and contraction loosens the connection. Loose connections cause arcing. Arcing can start fires. Copalum connectors are a reliable solution. Copalum connectors require special tools. Push-in connectors are easier to install. Push-in connectors may not be as reliable. Terminal strips provide a secure connection point. Terminal strips require crimp connectors. Regular inspections are essential. Look for signs of corrosion or loose connections. Replace aluminum wiring if necessary. Copper wiring is a safer alternative. Install arc fault circuit interrupters. AFCIs can prevent electrical fires. Always hire a qualified electrician. An electrician can ensure safe and proper installation. Prioritize safety when dealing with aluminum wiring. Addressing aluminum wiring requires careful consideration. Each method has advantages and disadvantages. Consider the long-term cost and reliability. Regular maintenance is key to preventing problems. Aluminum wiring is not inherently dangerous, but it requires special attention. Ignoring the risks can have serious consequences. Proper installation and maintenance are crucial. Aluminum wiring problems often stem from improper connections. Over time, these connections can degrade, leading to various issues. Oxidation is a key factor in the degradation of aluminum wire connections. Aluminum readily reacts with oxygen in the air, forming a layer of aluminum oxide on the surface of the wire. This oxide layer is non-conductive, which means it does not allow electricity to flow easily. When an aluminum wire connection becomes oxidized, the oxide layer increases the resistance at the connection point. This increased resistance restricts the flow of electricity, causing the connection to heat up. This heat further accelerates the oxidation process, creating a vicious cycle that can lead to a complete failure of the connection. Another factor contributing to the problems with aluminum wiring is its coefficient of thermal expansion. Aluminum expands and contracts more than copper with changes in temperature. This means that when an aluminum wire connection heats up, the aluminum wire expands more than the surrounding connectors or terminals. As the connection cools down, the aluminum wire contracts more than the surrounding components. This repeated expansion and contraction can loosen the connection over time, creating a gap between the wire and the connector. This gap increases the resistance at the connection point, leading to further heating and oxidation. Loose connections are a significant fire hazard. When a connection becomes loose, the electrical current is forced to flow through a smaller area, creating a hotspot. This hotspot can generate enough heat to ignite nearby flammable materials, such as insulation or wood framing. Arc faults can also occur in loose connections. An arc fault is a dangerous electrical discharge that occurs when electricity jumps across a gap in the circuit. Arc faults generate intense heat and can easily start a fire. The Copalum system is a permanent repair for aluminum wiring connections. The Copalum system involves crimping a copper pigtail onto the existing aluminum wire using a special high-pressure crimping tool. This crimp creates a cold weld that is resistant to corrosion and loosening. The copper pigtail is then connected to the branch circuit using a standard copper-to-copper connection. The Copalum system is considered to be the most reliable method for repairing aluminum wiring connections because it creates a permanent, corrosion-resistant connection that is not subject to loosening over time. However, the Copalum system requires specialized training and equipment and can be more expensive than other methods. Push-in connectors are an alternative to the Copalum system. Push-in connectors are designed to connect aluminum wire to copper wire without the need for crimping. These connectors typically contain a spring-loaded mechanism that grips the wires tightly, creating a secure connection. Push-in connectors are easier to install than the Copalum system, but they are not considered to be as reliable. Over time, the spring-loaded mechanism and push-in connectors can weaken, leading to a loose connection. Terminal strips provide a secure and organized way to connect multiple wires together. Terminal strips are typically made of metal or plastic and have a series of terminals that can be used to connect wires. When using terminal strips with aluminum wire, it is important to use a terminal strip that is specifically designed for use with aluminum wire. These terminal strips are typically made of aluminum and have a special coating that prevents corrosion. When connecting aluminum wire to a terminal strip, it is important to use a crimp connector that is specifically designed for use with aluminum wire. These crimp connectors are typically made of aluminum and have a special coating that prevents corrosion. Regular inspections are essential for identifying potential problems with aluminum wiring. Homeowners should visually inspect their wiring for signs of corrosion, discoloration, or loose connections. They should also listen for any buzzing or crackling sounds coming from outlets or switches. If any problems are suspected, a qualified electrician should be called immediately. If significant oxidation or loose connections are found, consider replacing the aluminum wiring with copper wiring. This is the most expensive option, but it eliminates the risks associated with aluminum wiring. Install arc fault circuit interrupters AFCIs. AFCIs are designed to detect arc faults and shut off the power to the circuit before a fire can start. AFCIs provide an extra layer of protection against electrical fires. Always hire a qualified electrician who is experienced in working with aluminum wiring. An electrician can properly assess the situation, recommend the most appropriate solution, and perform the work safely and effectively. Prioritize safety when dealing with aluminum wiring. Remember that aluminum wiring is not inherently dangerous, but it requires special attention. By following these recommendations and taking appropriate precautions, homeowners can minimize the risk of electrical fires and ensure the safety of their homes and families.